the Never Ask for the Sale Masterclass. And I have to thank my beautiful assistant, Crystal, for this wonderful artwork. I just thought it captured everything that, that I was trying to say with this, because all my, business life, I've been told to ask for the sale. And once I started to actually make a lot of money in my business, I discovered that I never have to ask for the sale. People are asking to work with me. And then I decided, and usually I'm a marketing coach and I'm a messaging coach. And then I thought, oh my God, what if I teach people the power of being able to put together such an amazing marketing strategy and an amazing marketing message that once you get so clear on what it is that you offer, that you're in their face over and over again, telling them that, then you never have to ask for the sale. And that's pretty much been my experience. And I'm going to share my journey with you. So I always say influencing others isn't luck or magic. It's actually a formula. It is science. So this is me after working 18 years as a corporate, grunt, I like to say, corporate slave that I was. I was always working for these really sexy companies. So it was always so hard to leave, and people were pitching me to death in terms of like vendors. So if we can mute ourselves, that would be wonderful. So now for the past 12 years, I've been the seller. So I was a buyer of services for all those 18 years. And now it's getting really close to equaling almost as much in the corporate world as I have. And now I'm on the other side of the table. And I got to tell you about my first persuasion fail, my first sales conversation fail. I was certified by a coaching school, and the way they taught us to sell is go networking and walk up to people in the networking and try to coach them in the moment and ask for the sale. And I'll never forget, and I talk about this in my, I think it was at the NASDAQ or the, one of my famous recorded telecasts that I did and live streams that I did. This was where I talked about how I went to this networking and I, moved close to this woman, and we were both getting food at the buffet table. And, she asked, oh, what is it that you do? And I said, oh, it's not important. I'd like to talk about what you do. And then proceeded to try to coach her in the moment and to try to ask for the sale. And you know what she did? She literally put her plate on the table of the buffet and she left the meeting. And I left the meeting right after because I was almost in tears driving home thinking, Chala, you have managed people and brands for almost 2 decades and you don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to sell. You're never going to be able to have your own company. That was so devastating to me. It was so scary to me until I learned from people who I knew how to market, but I didn't know how to sell. Then I learned, and then I looked back at what are some of the things that I've learned being a buyer. So now I get asked to speak about all this. I get asked, my life is really different. The results, after 12 years is that, within 3 years of figuring this out, everything that I'm going to teach you is I tripled my 20-year corporate income. That's my little guy, Logan. When I took him, I think he was 9 years old, and we went to NASA at Fort Lauderdale, and it's actually a green screen for those of you who've seen this. I have time to work out every day for hours. It's my passion. And I take, Logan's on the spectrum. So I take him, he's 14 now. I take him to all sorts of appointments. We're doing brain training for him, like brain training. He has ADHD as well. For many, many years, like he's got multiple therapists. So many years he went to a special school. So he's really high functioning and he plays football now. And he's my pride and joy. And I still worry about him. So the results is like everything I do is for him. And, as I was saying, we had the private school and the therapists. And then just for myself, I, had this dream car on my, I don't know if you guys ever did your vision board, but this was like the Oprah days. And I did my vision dream car and I got it, a couple of years ago. And I actually did, my dream house on a vision board, and my dream house is like all glass, and it's got the glass railings, and it's modern, and it's giant. And of course, I mean, I just bought a house, but it looks like about half of that, but it's still so beautiful. So vision boards are working for me. And why am I telling you all this is because I think the stuff that I'm using is what I'm going to teach is working, and it's working for me. And if it can work for a woman, you know, in her 50s in Canada, it can certainly work for you guys. Like a single mom in Canada, it can certainly work for you guys, because like 100% of my business is in the US. So everything I'm telling you is like, I do it, I get on a plane and do it, basically. So why not ask for the sale? I mean, you probably already know, you know, asking for the sale is not the best thing, but people are turned off by selling and marketing. You're probably one of those people. 80% of marketers report their lead gen are not working, and 87% say there are more ads than 2 years ago. And like the majority, 91% say they're so intrusive, and like people are using ad blockers, and their prospects are not responding. 90% of first-time voicemails never get returned. And an average buyer gets 100 plus emails a day, opens just 23% and clicks on just 2% of them. So if you're trying to email people or even message them, it's not getting through. And buyers think everyone's the same. 86% of buyers can't see a real difference between suppliers. And only 14% of buyers think their suppliers bring true value. And, you know, almost 60% of sellers, they think they add value. So here are the 3 steps to never ask for the sale. The first is clarify your niche, which I'm going to talk to you about. The second is clarify your message. And the third is intercept your target. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to do all that. So the first one is clarifying your niche, is which one can make a bigger hole. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just take a look at you guys. I'm going to stop share. Who wants to answer? And I want a little bit of participation here. And welcome to those of you I haven't seen. Oh, welcome. We've got a lot of people here. Yeah, so what can make the bigger hole? A cannon or a shotgun? If anybody wants to unmute themselves and talk about it, I'd love to hear.
Cannon.
Yeah, and tell me what that looks like in your business.
So for my business, I help people who had weight loss surgery be able to get to goal weight and stay there through removing emotional eating. So it focuses on a particular part. It's not just lose weight, which would be the general idea, but it's focused on lose weight, keep it off after having bariatric surgery. So it's very, very focused in a way that a cannon will shoot that one big cannon ball and be able to just, throw a bomb or however cannons work, I'm sorry, and be able to just focus on that space that it could just make the most damage. Where my business, I focus on one particular area of the weight loss instead of just saying, oh yeah, you can lose weight.
Okay. Anybody else? That's exactly what I was asking. Anybody else want to talk about how they're approaching it? Is it a cannon or a shotgun? Anybody want to unmute themselves and talk about their business?
So I'm happy to go next. So I think up until now, it's been shotgun, and repeatedly shooting a shotgun in the same area eventually makes some damage, but I think I've run out of shotgun cartridges. I've certainly run out to keep doing the same old crap. So I'm ready to get the cannon out.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And in the meantime, if one more person wants to go, and Crystal, could you put in the meantime, if you could look for the worksheet, if we can look at the worksheets.
Yes. Hi, Chala. Our company, we are a marketing research change management company. We use the shotgun approach. It is effective because people like it when they first hear it, but they need more. And so just really giving them what they need for the confidence that they're already excited about. So that's been successful. But I guess the last part is with the shotgun is to really seal the deal as we've moved forward. But it has been helpful to get them to a certain place ready for close once we learn how to do that.
So I love the two perspectives. So, and Crystal, I don't know if anybody downloaded the workbook, but Crystal is actually, she just put the link. If you want to take notes as I go along, some people learn through taking notes, so just capture the notes in there. So I'm going to go back to presenting. Okay, so obviously the one that can make a bigger whole is the cannon. And what does that mean in your business? So what is the shotgun? First of all, when, you know, you guys said you like the shotgun, I find that prospects are confused. What am I going to sell? Who am I going to sell to? I have to cover, look at all these little holes everywhere. That's the universe of where I have to be, of all the people that I have to sell to. And then because they're so confused about who to speak to and what to talk about, you're sending out and your prospects are getting irrelevant mails and voicemails. They're generic. They're blending in with everybody else. So that's been my experience. So I would love to hear, you know, about how it's working for you, but let me just take you through what, you know, how to focus your firepower in the cannon approach. So in the cannon approach, so the shotgun approach is the left hand, it's the rectangle there. I'll work with anyone and do everything. So if you look at the top, which is the who, and the bottom is your what is, and it's hard to read, but it says the what, which is what you sell, the products and services that you sell. So the top, it's all the different industries, sizes, all the different kinds of companies and interest groups that you can work with. And then the bottom is every single product or service you can sell to them. Now, when I work with clients and we try to figure out their, you know, never ask for the sale strategy, we try to move them at least to one shape over, if not the golden position. So one shape over is you just become a product or service specialist. For example, Starbucks, they only do coffee. That's what they're known for. I mean, they do more, but they're known for coffee. Next shape is, for example, Chuck E. Cheese. They're only known for their one type of customer, the kids. And then they, you know, sell whatever else they want to. Now, the golden position is you take just one of each. You take one specific customer and one specific what or who to sell. So that's what I want for you, because that's truly a cannon approach. Now, what do you do with the cannon approach? Then you take whoever's in the middle of your sun or whoever's your target group, your target prospect, and you're really, really clear on that. Then you plop them right into the middle of what I call your target sun, which is the worldview of your target market. Because you put them in the middle and then you go into their world and you look at, okay, what are they reading? What are they listening to? What podcast, publication, trade publication, online? What LinkedIn groups are they in? What Facebook groups are they in? Then you look at what associations, organizations they go to and belong to. You go to what meetings, conferences, trade shows, events they go to. You look at, okay, who else are they working with that I can partner with to introduce me to these people? And then you look at somebody who's kind of your competition, but you know, does kind of the same thing, but there's something different about you that you could form an alliance with, but they still kind of have the same target in the middle that they can introduce you to. Okay. So this is an example. For example, I had a client who was a wealth advisor, and believe me, they do the shotgun approach. They're like anybody with a pulse, right? They will go after everybody and everything and sell them everything that they have. And what we did with this client, because she was telling me, you know, Chala, strangers won't talk to me about money. Strangers won't talk to anyone about money, but especially a stranger. So what do? They run away from me. As soon as I say I'm a wealth advisor, they're out the door. And so what we did is we found her a very specific prospect who would run after her and ask her for the sale. And the problem that she would solve for them would be, and these were divorcing and separating women. Their number one problem was they were afraid of losing their lifestyle from before the divorce versus after the divorce. And after the divorce, like before the divorce, they didn't know, they didn't have any clarity around their finances and how it would split up and what they would need. So she started specializing in this divorcingwoman.ca, choice through clarity. And if you're thinking about divorce and you're trying to understand your financial position and you're a divorcing and separating woman, then she would help you. And this is another client. So, oh, by the way, what happened is she became such a huge success that she started doing, like, there were 22 meetup groups in Toronto alone that she would go and meet with people, and she would do lunch and learns, and she would do talks. And people started running after her because they wanted her advice. And so she never had to ask for the sale. They would ask to work with her. And that worked out really well for her. This is another client, Michelle. So what she did is she used to work for, you know, just many, many positions in the government. And she decided to retire from the government at this beautiful, you know, young age. And at the time, the number one prospect that she identified was these people who worked with millennials, like these young generation. And at the time, by the end of 2020, they were saying that 2 out of 3 millennials hope to have quit their current employer to join a new organization. And believe me, they did. You remember the whole, you know, quitting and, you know, now it's the quiet quitting and all of the absenteeism, all of those problems. I mean, millennials were at the crux of it at the time that her and I worked together, and her clients, her prospects were running after her because she was educating them about their problems. So so that was the number one, is figure out who is your canon going to aim at. Okay. Now, the second step is I want you to clarify your message, because when you're absolutely clear about what you do and what you help, that's when people really flock to you. Okay. So if you had a stadium full of your ideal client, what would you say to them? And I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to take some of your answers. So remember, the question is, if you had a stadium full of your ideal client and they gave you a microphone and you had the chance to speak to them for 30 seconds, what would you say to them to get as many of these, you know, thousands of people of your ideal client to come and work with you, to come and give you their business? Is there anybody who would like to go? That's a hard one, eh? Yeah. But believe me, when you're in front of a group, like, you know, a networking group, or where you're anywhere you're introduced, even if it's like a threesome at a networking, this is essentially what you have to do. Is you're given a microphone and you're asked to speak, and you have to introduce your business in a way that people are going to want to work with you. And every time you send them a DM or a message, you have to do the same thing. So is there anyone who knows what they would say if they were given the microphone at? Okay, Terry, go for it. Hey,
Hi there. I'm sorry to pop in late, but I had to finish a meeting with a client.
hey, we always like to hear that.
I would ask what they've been afraid of.
Okay, but you've got, so you're in front of, did you see the question here? You're in front of an audience of thousands, right? You can't even see them. There's so many. And
All
you're,
right.
yeah, so you've got the microphone, and what would you say when you have 30 seconds to talk to this huge audience of thousands of your ideal client in the stadium?
We spend too much time in our own heads, and we are the worst possible coaches that we could have for ourselves. So it's an opportunity to get out of your own head, get out of your own way, and talk about your fears that are holding you back, so that we can get past the procrastination and the executive dysfunction that might be stopping you from working on the important things instead of just working on the busy work.
Okay, that's a good one. All right. So, is there anybody else who wants to go? I mean, this is a safe space. So if you want to be brave with the rest of these strangers.
Hi, I'll go. And sorry, I can't be on camera right at the moment.
Yeah.
But I would say that Wall Street strategies are not the only way to build wealth. You don't have to surrender your money and your decision making to typical strategies, and you need to understand the cost of that the average American is losing about a third of what their future wealth could be to fees and commissions. And no one will ever care more about your money than you, and you owe it to yourself to educate yourself about the pros and the cons of different strategies and what they will cost you and the alternatives that are available to you.
Okay, so this is what you would say on the microphone, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more feedback as we go along. Is there one more person we want to take?
Yes, I would ask everybody on the microphone, what is your number one issue with getting promotional products and branded apparel delivered to your customers, constituents, or employees? If you would like to discuss what issues you are having, please contact me here.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, everyone. All right, I'm going back to sharing. All right. So the answer is that 70% of people make purchasing decisions to solve a problem, and only 30 to gain something. So all of you guys actually talked about a problem. But if I could dream, I would drill further down and clarify that problem. So for example, let's say with Clinton, you talked about Clinton. If I can get back, stop sharing. You're still
Yes.
there, right? Yeah. So,
Yes.
so you talked about the number one issue being getting the delivery. So so the first thing that I would do is I would actually, who is the target? Like who's in that audience? So who would be your number one client in that audience?
Corporate HR personnel.
Okay. And usually I like to target not by function, but by industry. So give me an industry you'd like to double your business in.
Oof. That's I would industry.
Yeah. So here's the thing, you guys. I want you to always pick an industry because all the messaging is against the industry problem, right? And industry problems are what they're living with and dying with every single day. Those executives that's what they think about. That's what they hire. When there's no pain, there's no sale, right? If you're not talking to a prospect about their problem in that industry, if you have no idea about what problems you can solve in that industry, then they can't hear you because it's part of our DNA to protect ourselves against danger, right? That's why they listen for the danger and for the fear. So that's why you have to base your messaging on pain. So Clinton, in order to pick an industry, part of what we do with clients is to look at what are some of the industries or interest groups that we have a lot of access to that would pay us the amount of money that we want to get paid. And we want to also make sure that it's a cultural fit for us, right? So for example, a client who was a vegan, one of her biggest clients was a meat company. There was no cultural fit for her. So we had to change her focus. So these are some of the things I want you to think about. And once you figure out which industry, then I want you to think about what is the number one problem that I solve for them in their industry. So do you have a sense of that, Clinton?
Yes, I'll just pause. We're basically what our products and services are more of a utility. So we have, for instance, we have several big clients, but they are in different industries, but the pain point's always the same with them. It's the people who are responsible for getting getting together products to distribute to their employees, which usually ends up for some reason being HR and some marketing people. So it's really different companies with different industries with the exact same problem at the exact same place. So that's kind of, it's where our eyeballs are at. That's why I had a hard time when you said specific industry. It's
Yeah, so
it
that's
gives me
what I
something to think about. And thank you for that.
exactly. So that's what I would do. I would look at, okay, which industry do I want to double in this year? And look at what problem could we solve? And except for Clinton, if you could all mute yourselves, I can hear somebody's door slamming. So that's what I would do, Clinton. I would figure out what is the industry and then what is the exact problem. For Kate, she was talking about the cost of fees and how much it's stealing from people, that they're losing a third of their wealth. I love it, but I would love it if you could go down deep like my wealth advisor client did and talk about what is one group of people and what is a group of consumers that self-gather. For example, I have a group of moms who are other autistic kid moms that I regularly keep in touch with because we met through baby groups when they were all autistic, and we still keep in touch. And, those baby groups, and now they've become, other young adult groups. We're in that community. So if you're going to, sell to me something around, for example, when I have a special needs child, in terms of wealth management, I want to make sure that he has a reverse insurance, which what I've got, right? As I don't even have to die. As soon as he hits like 18, he starts to get money because we have reverse insurance because he's, disabled. I mean, he's not fully disabled, but in case he's not able to make a good living, that's what I've got for him. So can you imagine what if you could do your messaging around a very specific problem for a very specific target group? Does that make sense, Kate?
Yes, and I tend to work with self-employed people. I mean, is that a group, or I'm imagining drilling down further is
You could,
or
yeah, you could.
people who have left the corporate world already, or they're planning on leaving.
I want you to think about, when you're thinking about picking a target, I want you to think about who already self-gathers in large numbers every month. So I don't want you to pick a group that is self-gathers like once a year. That's not going to give you enough of a touch point with them. But imagine, and people only self-gather in two ways. One is by industry and the other one is by interest group. Like if they have an interest, like bowling, for God's sake, or yoga, like these are, or like, for example, one of the mortgage brokers I worked with was a foodie, and he had his group of, culinary groups that he joined. I mean, he would go on trips with them, and they would get together for, cook-offs, and like he sold to them, he sold mortgages to them, but that was a way to start. And he was a foodie, and he joined other foodie groups, and there were other foodie groups, and then wine groups, and so on. So does that make sense? Like in terms of consumer, that's the group. And like I said, like there was 22 meetup groups for separating and divorcing women in Toronto alone, right? And Toronto's nowhere nearly as big as some of the cities in the US, right? I mean, Canada has 1/10 of the population of the US. So those are some of the ways that I would look at specializing you. Okay.
Helpful. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. And Terry, I saw a couple of messages, but I didn't get to read them. Have you had a further refining of what you thought you would target?
Yes, like you said, loss is something that everyone wants to avoid.
Yeah.
And when I started working with executive directors and leadership in communities, they're typically supported by foundations. And for me, I had to come to the conclusion that I had stakeholders and customers.
Yeah.
And the executive director was my stakeholder, but the foundation was my customer.
Okay. Well,
So when
the check
I
signer?
hit, I'm sorry.
Who's the check signer?
You're exactly. And the foundations were sick and tired of having people burn out and losing institutional knowledge and having to wait another year before their grant money was actually getting to where it needed to be.
Mhm.
So we pitched resiliency and
Okay,
giving these
burnout
people
resiliency. Yeah,
and
perfect.
yeah, pitching pitching problem solving before the problem occurred.
Got it. I love it. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. So when you go in front of your ideal client, that's how clear I want you to be. This is my ideal client. It's nonprofit EDs. Their number one problem is burnout. This is what it's causing, and this is how I help. Okay, does that make sense? Terry, does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, he's nodding. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the training. Okay. So when your whole marketing is based on this pain. So this was an example of a client who did background checks when people are hired. And when she did a trade show, this is the, trade show banner, the pull-up she used to use. It was pretty much like she just printed a brochure on just a large format. But instead, when we looked at, okay, what is the first pain that you're solving is, well, apparently, like almost 80% of applicants lie somewhere along the process. So we put this guy with the mask and do you really know who you're hiring? And we'll reveal the real candidate and to learn more. So it's pain-based marketing. And this was their elevator pitch. So before it was, we're a pre-employment screening company and we do background and criminal checks. And it changed to, this was the real problem we found out when we did the research, was bigger than the lying, was that it takes so much time. 2 out of 3 candidates are lost because of this long, lengthy background check. And they have a quick track process that's 30% faster than the competitors. So that became the calling card. So I want you guys to imagine if this is what you're in front of your ideal client, and this so specific is your message, that you're giving it to them over and over and over again, all across their world, what's going to happen? They're going to get to know you, like you, trust you with respect to that one specific pain, and they're going to ask to work with you, which is the way that it works for all my clients and for myself. Okay, here is another example of, this was an ad agency called Kick. And before they were just a generic, just like any other ad agency. I mean, I worked with them for 18 years, I should know. Not with Kick, but with every ad agency globally. And before they were just a generic. And after they became very specialized in something called inbound marketing, which is the way you would get sales from your online presence, so digital marketing. And then they became a specialist in food. So you can see all of their website became all around food. And did it work for them? Yeah, in food and beverage, this repositioning. The owner, Andrea, wrote this email and copied me. She wrote it to her staff. She said, hey guys, I called X Foods today, spoke with the director of marketing. First, he turned me down, and this was a cold call. But as soon as I said we specialize, his ears perked up. He wouldn't stop talking. He was delighted to hear that we specialize in the food service. And he said he's been looking for fresh new ideas to take it to the new level. And he actually ended up becoming a client. So this specialization, you don't have to do much work. Can you please mute yourselves, whoever's hasn't muted themselves? So I had done for the last 2 months, we've been doing a masterclass called One-Liner Elevator Pitch. And I think a lot of you here today are from that group. So this is their one-liner. This became their one-liner elevator pitch. It went from, we're an ad agency who does strategy and design, to we help get leads online for food service manufacturers 10 times faster than actually having a sales rep and a sales staff. So here's another example of a client who before had a company called GR Marketing Strategists, and he was a marketing strategist, and this was his website. It was pretty generic. The heart of your business success lies in its marketing and distribution. And after the repositioning, he became the fooddistributionguy.com, where he actually got you listed, because the number one problem in that industry was to get listed and stay listed in grocery stores. If you had a small food manufacturer, like the sauce guy and the cookie lady. And this is what Richard did. And he became so successful from going from the generic to the specialized, So many people asked to work with him that he had, I think, 6 large contracts in the first year of his repositioning. And this became his one-liner elevator pitch. We're a marketing strategy firm and we work with companies to increase their sales, which is super generic too. We help food manufacturers get listed 4 times faster than average and help them stay listed 30% longer. So again, he became so successful that I always put, oh, I didn't put the picture. He actually asked his girlfriend to marry him at the age of 61, and there's a picture of us at his wedding. So I always put that in, but obviously I forgot to put that one in. So we talked about the first step of never asking for the sale is to become really clear and have a cannon approach instead of a shotgun approach. Then we talked about your messaging, how specific it has to be for a very, very, very targeted industry or interest group. And then to be very, very targeted on what problem, and not just any problem, but one facet of the problem. Which facet do you solve? And then step 3 is intercept your target. Okay. So when you're in front of them over and over again. So here is their world. Remember, we went through this. So the middle is the target market, and some of the where you go to meet with them is, and this could be virtually or in person, is they read and they listen to things. So you have to be there. You have to be at, in podcasts that they're listening to, you have to be a guest on them, or you have to have a podcast that they listen to. You have to be in their online world. You have to be in their groups. You have your content being read or listened to by them. This is huge. But if you're not specific to who you help and what one problem you've become a specialist in, it's impossible for them to find you because there's so many people talking about the same thing over and over again. That's why you have to specialize and niche. So the next piece, as you remember, was the associations and organizations. And then you meet them at their meetings, conferences, trade shows, and events. And you meet them through other professionals that already serve this target, their other suppliers. And then you meet them through your near competitors who you can have an alliance with that introduce you to the middle of the sun, but there is something that you do that they don't do, and vice versa, which is why you're not competitors directly for that target market. Okay, so here are some ways to do visibility. Interview marketing was something I started even before I had my podcast, and it's literally reaching out to prospects and saying, I, watched you, saw you, I'm introduced to you through so-and-so, and I see your expertise on this topic, and can we mine your expertise? And this is very similar to inviting people to be your podcast guest. The thing is, some people are too shy, or they don't like the podcast world, or, one of my clients does journalistic interview marketing. The example of interview marketing, the oldest one is Napoleon Hill, where he, Think and Grow Rich. I don't know, 100 years ago, interviewed every single billionaire that he could find. And then he became so well associated with them. He became so successful because the part of the interview marketing isn't just the information that you give and share with your audience, but it's that connection. So I know that I had 3 podcasts during COVID, which is how I actually continued my business while I was locked out of being able to travel to the US to be able to do speaking like I do now. Here is what my clients Kick did. It's called, it's targeted strategic mailing. And what they did was they were targeting General Mills, and they made a little box for them and introduced themselves and said, can we come in for a meeting? And they got it. Here's another way that they tried to get a meeting is they mailed a literal toaster with fake bread. And they said, David, who's the marketing manager, Kick would like to propose a toast. Let's meet up for a jam session. And they sent this to a jam company called Smuckers. And they got the meeting and they got the client because this is targeted. It's strategic because you know exactly who you're going after. And once you know who that is, then you can talk to their pain. Blogs, you can talk to their pain. I mean, my, target are corporations who are trying to sell to buyers. Normally that's where I speak on stages. I'll be doing some executive roundtables in Denver in a couple of weeks at a conference, at a women's conference called WeBank. So these are some of the ways that I become a thought leader and an expert, and I'm visible. The executive roundtables, I mean, they're being filled by the conference. I don't even know one single person that's going to attend, but now I'm in the world, I'm in the sun of my target. There are usually 8 groups of intimate groups of 8 high-level decision makers. Now you can make this a group of 8, young mothers of, hockey players, or you could make it whoever's your target, and you can have a high-level decision maker, or you can have, even just whoever's your target, like, yoga moms, whoever it is. What they do in this executive roundtable is they gather for facilitated discussion around the pain. So it's like, what do you think about the pain? What do you think about the pain? So it's like shared. And then this puts you in the position of an expert. And also the other thing that I do is media appearances. And I just use my books to just cold call local, small stations. Like, I mean, nobody's up at 7 a.m. watching me on NBC Albuquerque, New Mexico, but it makes it into my media reel, and it gives me credibility. So what you can be directly visible in front of your target, or you can repurpose your target to make it directly visible once once it's there, because I never have to go back to Albuquerque. Not that I'm saying I wouldn't. Publishing books has never been easier. Now, AI is writing books, for God's sake. Now, I don't suggest that you do that. Obviously, it has to come from you. It has to come from the heart. I made a challenge for myself this year. In fact, last year, it was like November. And what I did is I said, I'm going to make a video reel every single day from now on for my business. And that's what I've been doing. And it gets easier. So initially what I started to do was I used to have AI write it for me, but I found that it just didn't land. Like, it just, with me, I don't know. I mean, I get still the same amount of views, I guess, but I started writing my own and then, scripting my own. So I've only ever written my published books myself, because at the time there was really not enough AI technology to do it, but it is simpler than anything. All of these were self-published, except for one. And then that's the contribution one. And they take, like, literally, I don't know, a couple of days. When you send it, you just upload it to Kindle Publishing, KDP, digital publishing. Speaking at conferences is a huge one for me. That's really filled my business. And it's like, if you are very specific about what you teach, and very specific about who to teach it to, who you're teaching it to, that your target is just literally crying in pain for what you're giving them, then all you have to do is be in their sun. That's all. You never have to ask for the sale after that. I want you to be visible on your website, like, just visibility. I want you to think visibility. I always knew, being a marketing manager, that visibility, like for Pepsi, Pizza Hut, Frito-Lay, I knew that visibility was important, but my God, I had a coach who put his picture on a lip balm that he was giving away at his own conference. I said, that takes the cake. Like, that's visible, right? Like, and he taught me, like, as many places as you can be. You may think that it's corny. You may think that it's, not classy. And I might agree with you on that, but it works, because no matter where I go in my target group, son, people are saying, hi, Chala, hi, Chala, hi, Chala. And I unfortunately don't know them. Like, it's not that I've met them, they know me. And this is what I get all the time, is like, oh my God, you look so much like your picture. So that's because I'm visible. I do the ridiculous, the picture on the lip balm. Like, if I did lip balm, I would put my picture on the lip balm. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and most of the business owners that I'm meeting, especially the smaller ones, are so shy. They're like, they don't want to be visible. But I'm forcing now my clients, even my corporate clients, to be more visible. And I'll show you, like, even the most corporate and male dominated industries, like, so this is a woman in Canada. Christine McGee. She made beds like famous, and she is on every ad, every website. And do you think she like is the only owner? No, of course not. She's like, this is a huge company. She's just like a one little tiny speck of it. Here's this is the COO at the time. I forget her name, Marissa, no, I don't remember, it's not coming. But this was her media opportunity where she was, this is like progressing so fast. So she was actually doing a Vogue spread. So imagine if in a, she was the CEO of Yahoo. So imagine in a, male dominated world that she was taking media opportunities for a Vogue spread. You can certainly be on your website. Being on your company's about page. I see so many websites that have their about page being super generic, and they talk about just, I don't know, some sort of copy, but it has to be your story. So visibility, visibility, visibility. Be visible on your marketing collateral. You remember the guy with the mask who, Marty Britton Management. So she's now on all of her own marketing collateral. And this was tip sheets that she was on the back of this tip sheet where, to solve problems around screening. Visibility is newsletters. I am still such a huge proponent of newsletters. This was just one of mine. Webinars, like this, livenars, like this is the kind of stuff that I'm doing. So many of you, and those of you who are watching this live, and those of you who can't be here to watch it live, they're going to be watching the recordings. And those of you who've just seen my ads and my reels of just what I've been doing. This is huge visibility, you guys. I've had people hire me from like complete unknown just because they said, my God, you're everywhere. So in marketing, visibility is money. So I want you to take that and I want you to put that into practice. Conference coaching is something that I do. I'll be doing it again. If those of you who are in the WeBank world, the women business enterprise world, who are coming to the Denver annual conference, I actually have a booth where I'll be doing exactly this. We have a sign where you're going to sign up for the different hours and with your name and your email address and your phone. So we're going to be doing it on the spot. We're going to be doing on the spot coaching. And what I'll be doing is, what my niche is pitching, elevator pitching. So I'm going to be polishing your pitches. Okay. So this is something you could do in your target. You can be coaching them. You can be giving them free advice. But what I'm trying to tell you is that I am literally everywhere in the sun of my client targets. And I want you to do the same. Okay, so the summary is the 3 steps to never ask for the sale is, clarify your niche. Without clarity, you don't know who to be in front of. You don't know who to network with. You don't know how to spend your time, your resource, your marketing budget. The second piece is clarify your message. If you don't know what specific one problem you help, and you don't know who you're helping, you can't not ask for the sale. You have to ask for the sale, because then people don't chase you. And then of course, be in front of them over and over and over again. It takes 7 to 12 touches for people to buy from you. And the 7 to 12 touches have to be around that sun, because if you have multiple suns, so you're trying to do the shotgun approach, that's why it's taking you so long to sell, because nobody knows you for one thing. And the same people aren't seeing you and your message and your expertise about that message over and over and over again. So I want to introduce you to Colleen. She actually came live on the last live that we had, and I wanted to just show you how she did it.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Charla. It's a great opportunity to give back to something that means so much, and to be a part of growth for small businesses, which is really a passion of mine. On the side, instead of just growing mode, it's how can we all grow together? So niching, good question. All right, let me introduce myself. My name is Colleen Banyol, and I'm the CEO of Mode Studios. We are an experiential agency. We work in the pillars of brand activations, architectural installations, and online engagements. So it's a pretty vast areas, and we're like a boutique. So we do really super special things, blending technology and storytelling and brand environments all together into one space.
I told you you were famous. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
I'm famous in a very small group of people. So it's like in my house, I'm the most famous.
No, but I told him about the name. I name dropped. I said, you know, like they work with famous people. So, you know, tell us about how it's like.
Yes, so we're currently working with Disney, and we just opened Christina Aguilera's Las Vegas residency. We designed the production for that, and this last year we've also worked with Billy Joel and Blake Shelton and a few other music entertainers. So
Nice.
yes, so it works. I like to say that we're like this, and they're over here, and I'm over here. So,
You stay as far away from the thing.
stay out of the fray.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did you come to hire me? So talk about where the business was before we met, and then what made you make this decision?
So obviously being an experiential and event-based agency, the pandemic literally pulled the rug out from underneath us, and we were struggling. During the pandemic, we pivoted, like many other people, to online experiences, which sort of boosted us up for like 21, and then 22, we crashed harder than we did in 20. So we kind of crashed, went up, and then crashed again. And my husband and I work together, which is great on a lot of things, but being in the same job and the same business during the pandemic was not necessarily the most comfortable thing for us. And we had to hustle a lot. I think I met Chala through some Capital One classes and through WeBank experiences. I saw her speak a couple of times, and she talked about niching. And that was one of our biggest problems, is we can do anything. Like seriously, we can do anything, and we do really big anythings all the time, but we don't know how to express that to corporate members. And inside the WeBank environment, we were having a really hard time having discussions that meant anything. And Chala was really helpful in getting us to really understand where our value was, but also understanding the process of doing your research, building the right relationships, not just any relationship, but finding the people that are going to be able to hire you and building relationships with them, and how important that is. And the reason why that's important is because you then are able to have the conversations to find out what their pain points are. And Bob and I, we fought Chala tooth and nail on this one. We had 100 excuses why we would never be able to find out our clients' pain points. And I'm sure you can all relate to that. How the heck do you do that, right? But when we really started listening to her and paying attention to what she was saying, we got little nuggets of information that enabled us to build solutions for our clients that we could then talk about, that they were then like, oh, right, this is how we can hire you. This is what we can do for you, or this is what you can do for us. And that has enabled us to really get in the door, have the conversations. And in 2023, we set up, we're currently negotiating contracts that we set up in 2023, but we got paid for all of that work while we're negotiating these contracts. And that's doubled our income over 2022, just negotiating the contracts that we're working on now.
That is so cool. So do you remember Bob told a story? So Bob came, you know, talk about Bob. He has hair that matches Colleen's glasses. Like these are colorful people. And So he came into our roundtable last year in, where were we? Nashville? I think we were in Nashville. And he told a story of how every year you would go to these, and you were even getting an award that year. So congratulations again. But he said, Chala told us you can only pick one industry and one problem to talk about. Do you remember that? Like, do you want to talk about?
Do
you remember what
because
that was?
we built a capability statement around one problem and around one industry.
What was it?
And it was the auto industry.
Yeah.
So we had done a couple of projects inside the auto industry. We thought we'd highlight that. We also saw that their problems were across the board, that everybody was having the same pain point, and how can we fix that?
Yeah.
And we got more, we got more response than we ever have at this conference. We had meetings that followed very shortly thereafter, and I signed an MSA this year with one of them to move forward with work.
Did they ask you right away? Did one of them ask you right away to sign an NDA or something like that?
Yeah, on the spot.
On the spot, right? Yeah. And do I remember correctly that he would sit down and say, car shows are dead, or something like that?
The auto show, yes. So one of the things that we did within the auto industry was we designed booths for auto shows. So that was, and they had changed, the auto show now has been canceled. So it's literally dead, and they're trying to move the auto show experience to other conferences, but they weren't thinking about what they wanted out of the auto show and where they could get it besides other conferences. So a lot of them, especially the electric car options, all moved to CES, which is a.
So I'm going to stop it there. Okay, so I wanted you to see how, one, they were so resistant against using pain points and even looking into the pain points. Second, I wanted you to see the results that they got. I didn't get to the part because it's a 20-minute segment, but 100% increase since last year on their net income, and then 500% on gross profit. So that's pretty significant, from going from the cannon to from shotgun to cannon, and refining their ability to be in front of the right people, saying the right things, and then getting them to ask them to work with them. Do we have any questions before I move on to a few more things I want to share? You can put up your virtual hand if you want. Terry, yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry, we'll take it one at a time.
Terry can go.
Terry, go ahead. Thank you.
In order to make capacity to take on the really good clients, the A-grade clients, do you ever have to coach people to divorce themselves from the D-grade clients that take up all their time and all their resources?
You know, Terry, it depends on, I always liken it to a club, and it's been a couple of years since I've been to a club, but you know, when they have the velvet rope where it's empty inside, so you don't let a lot of people, you know, like you just make them wait outside, and then, or if the more full it gets, you let the line get longer. So depends on your practice. If you're, you know, just keeping the lights on, then you'll take as many and whoever as you can. And then once you start to change your marketing, then the kind of people who are lining up will become different. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, great. And who is next?
Hi, Charlotte. It's Moana from Joburg, South Africa.
Hi.
I wanted to find out from the pain points or the resistance that she said she was experiencing, which of those have you seen across your client in terms of now starting to segment? Because we have found ourselves in that situation because we do software solutions in terms of helping clients bridge the gap between technology as well as business, find the right technology to implement within their business, and also starting to use data and AI for their business. And we're also stuck in that thing of moving from being generic to now being specific. So I think I see myself in her in terms of how do you then capitalize? Because you also, in our space in tech, you see so many opportunities and you know you can fulfill them, but I guess now you have to be realistic in terms of time and your capacity, and also not letting potential clients overstretch you to where they want you to be, but it's not necessarily what you were or the purpose of you starting the company. So I just want to know, what was the biggest challenge or resistance that she has and her husband that you also see and is critical to getting from generic to specific?
It's the same as anybody who doesn't want a niche. They are worried about losing other opportunities if they focus in one area. It's like one of my clients worked for, she was a wealth advisor, another one, and she told her boss, I'm only going to focus on women. And he said, you're going to ignore 50% of the population? And he couldn't believe it. And she's like, yeah. And then she sold 3 times more than anybody else in the team. So that's the mindset. I think the biggest challenge to your question is the challenging the mindset around, if I don't speak to everyone and I just pick one group to speak to, how am I going to let go of all that opportunity, all the things that I can do for all these people? Like, why would I ever let that opportunity go? And the reason for that is because you make a bigger hole with a cannon. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Mia, did you have your hand up? Hi. Oh, you're not, oh, are you muted? You're
I
still-
did it one time. As you know, Chala, I don't sell to corporations, right? I am selling to the woman who is successful in her own business, but she's deeply unhappy.
Mhm.
And my challenge is, if I had a microphone and I'm in front of a whole group, I'm going to be talking about something that no one wants to talk about because we have a facade, right? And I need to get behind the facade. I think what I may have got from your session today was, if I have to pick on one problem, she's deeply unhappy, but I think she's lonely. I think most people are lonely today, right? If what I read is accurate. So I think she's lonely in her success. Is that?
So thank you for asking this question. The best thing to do, of course, is to go and talk to the people that you think could be your target. So that's number one. Number two is, it has to be a problem they're willing to talk to you about. And if it's not, so I used to have a client who helped men. She was, believe it or not, like a Reiki specialist, and she helped men with ED, which is erectile dysfunction. So she couldn't talk to men at all, and she couldn't talk about the problem. So she targeted something around to the people who would talk to her, which were the wives. And the thing that she targeted was something they would be willing to talk about, which was how to spice up the bedroom. So do you see how it's a link to, so I want you to look for a problem that they're willing to, that they're Googling about, that they want to, they're screaming about, instead of hiding, instead of not wanting to be talked about. So because, and the reason for that is because you use a hook that they want to talk about. And then once you get into the one-on-one or whatever the work is, then you can talk deeper at a deeper level. I just think it's so risky to be the, the poster child for something that nobody's willing to talk about just to be different. I think it's very risky. Another client I had, they did divorce services. Like, nobody wants to sign up for a divorce, breakout, like at a conference, like nobody. So again, we used, mental health and marriage, and we used other stuff, because once those people remembered them when they, had done those, and we found out that the number one group who divorces, by the way, is shift workers, like health workers. So if that makes any sense, Mia, I hope that helps.
It does, but I don't plan to be in front of groups speaking. I don't want to do that anymore.
Either
It's
way,
more of what I would do online, in
Yeah,
a blogging
for your
or.
messaging, yeah. So your messaging would be around what is the problem that they're willing to talk about. You still have to go and do the research. You still have to have a niche. You still have to have you say you have a very specific target, but just make sure that they're willing to pay what you're looking for, and they're looking for a solution. They would actually pay to solve that problem.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna share a few more things and then I'll continue taking questions. Okay, so for
Thank you very much for inviting me, Charla. It's a
All right. Okay, so what's next is I actually want to talk to you about my Nail Your Niche program. So this is for if you want to do it on your own. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, I made a 7-module online program. It is completely do-it-yourself. You can do it anytime you want and you can keep it for life. And it teaches you how to find your niche, how to find the message, and how to put together your marketing plan. Okay. And module 1 is figuring out that profitable specialty. And number 2 is what is that target, that vertical? And number 3 is how do you brand it? Like celebrities, we have a lot to learn from them. So I give you examples of how to brand it like a celebrity. And then of course your messaging, your magnetic message, and where do they hang out? Where do these clients hang out? Otherwise, how are you going to put together a marketing plan, which is the next step, which is creating your marketing plan. And then of course, selling online. So all of this is, and I put it together into a program that is affordable. So it's $4.99, or there's a 2-pay option where you divide it in half over a month. And you can get this at repositioner.com/niche. And I put this program together because like most of my one-on-one work, it starts at, 5,000 and it goes to 50,000. So a lot of people are not, able to reach for that or willing to pay for that at this point in their business. But that's my one-on-one work. This is the part where you do it yourself and you learn all the things that we talked about, how to do them. It's video-based. There's actual workbooks. There's methodology step-by-step and everything. And the surprise fast acting bonus is the first 3 to register gets a 1-hour complimentary strategy session, which I value at $500. I mean, people pay $500. You want to talk to me. Now, if you are looking for that one-to-one help, please go ahead and schedule a complimentary positioning session. Now, I know there's a lot of sales reps and customer support reps here on the call. So you need to bring your CEO and founder, because otherwise we can't talk about strategy and you can't really change strategy in the company. So it's really like, it's kind of like a waste of your time because we need to have the actual founders and CEOs vision and what they want to do and what they're willing to do in terms of their strategy. So on this call, the one-on-one call, we're going to talk about the direction of your strategy, look at the next 6 months to get you more meetings and clarify your growth goals. And then of course, I'll give you some insights about how you can stop asking for the sale. So this is how you sign up for the one-on-one. If you're interested in working together, it's repositioner.com/schedule. Okay. And don't forget that there's a bonus session tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And what we'll cover is, this is the part where you're actually going to talk about I'm going to take you through the scary sales conversation, still while never asking for the sale, and how to create urgency because, they're going to want to buy if there's urgency. And then when they will ask to work with you and not the other way around, I'm going to show you how to construct this sales conversation through everything that's based in like hundreds of years of psychology. And then you're going to hear an actual live success story from a past Rockstar client. She's going to come in. She's coming in tomorrow. Okay, so I want to thank you and I will take questions now. I will go through in the chat if there's any questions of people who are here. And while I'm taking, Clinton, you did your pitch, solving the problem. If you're missing out, yeah. Self-promotion is icky. Yeah, Terry, that's what people do think. Hopefully I'm going back. Oh, is NGLCC happening in Albuquerque? Oh, I didn't know that. I might be because I will be speaking there, most likely. Making the client feel valuable. Yeah. Did he ask for the sale? Oh, I'm not sure what he was talking about there. I coach faith-based. Okay, so Stacy, 2 words you need to make. Yeah, definitely. And Terry's talking about who the client prospect was, I guess. 6 Feet Up is dedicated. Yeah. So people are introducing themselves. And there you go. And the link, what Crystal was saying is the link to the recording will be provided later today. Okay. Okay. Awesome. All right. So do we have any questions? I am looking forward to.
Can you repeat what the links were, and I'll type them in the chat
Absolutely.
if people want to book a call with you, or I just don't see them posted in the chat.
Yep. So, oh, sorry, I'm gonna do it to everyone in the meeting. So the first one is repositioner.com/niche. And that's for the nail your niche. Repositioner.com/schedule is the one to book with me directly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jody. All right, everyone. So we will see you tomorrow, and I'm going to take you through the sales conversation. Okay, everyone.